Wow, that's very interesting. Officer X, have you ever, if you're working the beat, have you ever gone to a house because a husband has been beating his wife because he's been high on pot?
Never.
Never. But sure, that's where the drunks come in. All those calls, what do they call it? I forget the name of it right now. Like when it's members of the family, the domestic dispute. Isn't that like 70% of like officers that patrol? Isn't that the calls that they get?
It's a ridiculously high amount. Yeah, I don't know if it's 70, but it's ridiculously high, and it's all booze. 99%. I mean, short of a guy getting caught with his girlfriend, it's booze.
Right.
You know, 90% of the time. But it's but if you look at it too, just look at the simple standpoint. And I'm not pro or con either of this argument, but every single night, all across the world, there's hundreds of thousands of people in Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, right? How many you see in Marijuana Anonymous meetings?
Here's something I'd like to add to that. Too. If and a lot of my friends, people that I know that consume, they have themselves convinced, like they think they're addicted, which marijuana is not addictive. It is not addictive. That's something a lot of naysayers will argue about, but it's not. And I know from personal experience, I can smoke around the clock for months or years, and if I want to take 2, 3 weeks off, 4 weeks, like say I'm doing an action movie, it's easy as fuck. You know why? I just make the decision. You know what? I'm not going to smoke during these weeks. Bam, it's that easy. There's no jonesing. I don't even feel different. Some of my other friends are like, oh my God, you know, I'm gonna have to. I don't know what I'm gonna do. And then they're like, oh my God, you're right. It was that easy. Yes, you just have to give them the strength by letting them know, hey, don't believe all the bullshit. They tell you that it's addictive, and they have you thinking that you know that you don't even have the strength that you have. That's a strong factor too. I had something to add to what you said. What did you just say, Officer X? Something that triggered a thought in my head that I already lost.
See, I think we're more or less getting into the addictive nature.
Okay. Well, it's obviously it's not. It's something that you choose to do. You know, I mean, nobody ever says, "Oh, I know, I want to quit, but I can't." If they say that, they're only lying to themselves. Here's the point I wanted to bring up. Say you want help. Now they will check you into rehab. You can go to rehab for smoking cannabis because you think that you can't stop because you believe the hype and you got yourself fooled into thinking that you've got an addiction. And while you're in there, because of your use of this non-toxic, harmless plant, while you're in there, you can pick up a great habit of smoking cigarettes, which is death. Death rolled into a paper. You can start that addiction, the most addictive drug we have. You can start that in rehab. Now, you tell me the government doesn't want to push cigarettes and alcohol on you. I know better.
Yeah, that's nuts, Rob. If you really think about it, like if you're in an AA meeting, they have like a timeout for people to go have a cigarette and then come back in and continue their meeting.
It's crazy what people accept as okay. You know, I mean, that's normal. That's the standard. They're fine with that. They're in there in the meeting trying to deal with their addictions, and they can't wait to get their nicotine fix. Oh, my God, 2 more minutes. I get to have a puff. Dude, flying international flights, the people that are going crazy because they have to be on an airplane for more than 7 hours, they can't even wait till they get outside the door at baggage claim. They got to hit the first men's room as soon as they get off the airplane, lock themselves in a stall, and take a couple drags of their cigarette real quick before they flush it. And I know that probably most people listening to this smoke cigarettes because I know the numbers. I'm not trying to take that right from you, but I do want you to think about it. When I ask you why you smoke, say because you want to, not because you're addicted, because you can't quit, because that's bullshit, and you're looking for someone to just give you an excuse, someone to say, oh, I understand, you're just like everybody else, you're a victim. Bullshit. You light up every time because you want to.
No, I think you're a little off base with that one, bro.
Well, you always argue with me on the point of mental addiction, and that's that's a great topic to debate.
There's a physical craving caused by a compulsion when it comes to booze, pills, and cigarettes that you don't get with maybe you don't get with marijuana. I don't know, but like there's a definite physical and psychological addiction with alcohol and other drugs, buddy.
Well, like I said, they say the cigarettes nicotine, the drug being in there, is the most addictive that we have. And I don't have a hard time arguing that. I do know that my brain is stronger than nicotine. I have never, in Sandman, you've seen me consume a lot of substances back in the day. I have never felt like anything was stronger than me. I don't know what it's like to feel like I'm a victim to something and like I'm taking something or doing something that I truly don't want to do. I believe that inner struggle may exist in people, but that they're too fine with accepting it. And again, I understand physical addiction because you have a chemical makeup, and if you add another chemical and it becomes part of the foundation and it's balanced, the new balance is counting on that new chemical. If you take that chemical out, it's like kicking the leg out from underneath your chair. I get that. Physically, I get where that could be an issue. Psychologically, Officer X, you know as well as I do that your brain is the strongest machine in the universe, that all things ahead of us come from our thoughts, and that we're putting out this vibration into the universe that's forming our lives. That's why I always do everything that I set out to do. That's why I always accomplish my goals. And there's no way I would ever let an obstacle stand in the way because I felt like it was causing me to do something continually that I didn't want to do.
Hey, Rob, I got a question. For our listeners, how can somebody tell if maybe something's laced that they're trying to buy?
If it's I'm sorry, repeat that?
How can, listeners, different signs of stuff being laced, like marijuana laced?
You know what? That's the thing about it being on the streets, What I want to see is I want to see the government control and regulate marijuana, and then we won't have that problem. It's funny you mention that because a lot of times naysayers will bring this up as a point to why marijuana should be outlawed. No. That's exactly why it needs to be regulated. Sometimes, the thing is, when you want to get cannabis, which is harmless and virtually non-toxic, if you want to get it, you have to go to the street dealer, the same guy that probably carries a gun, that probably sells other shit. That's the guy you gotta go to. That's what we're trying to change here. We want you to be able to go to a place where the experts have bought it and have separated it, have prepared it for you, and that's what we do here in California with all the patients who have joined the medical marijuana program since 1996. We know that what we're getting is safe, and we know that it's regulated, and that's the thing. I had an officer tell me one time while he was arresting me. He said, don't tell me marijuana's never killed anybody. He goes, I had a 10-year-old who had his head blown off just last week over it. I said, marijuana didn't kill that kid. I mean, prohibition killed that kid, if anything, because he has to go to the streets to get something. And again, I don't think kids should smoke pot. I'm not a parent. I don't